Welcome everybody to episode 14 of House of Strikes. I am joined live with Frankie3s, who just got finished bodying somebody on Street Fighter 5. So, how's it going, Frankie?
Chilling, man. Everything's going good. Just trying to balance Street Fighter 5 and Third Strike.
Word.
But other than that, everything's good.
Yeah, so with everything that's been going on the past couple of weeks, I know we haven't had a show in a while. So, obviously, the show that we have for today is we're going to be covering the final round 19 results, which
Mm.
had Third Strike there. And a pretty little topic that we have going on today with the non-Third Strike players. We'll get to that later. And then we have an interview with Adam3s, who's known for his good performance at the last Fight Club, winning the tournament actually. And then another controversial topic, the Titans format at TFC. So we got Adam3s on the show specifically for that reason. So obviously he has specific opinions about that. So. And then, of course, we'll end the show with our parting shots. And, with that said, we'll get to the nitty gritty and get it started. So,
Mm.
Frankie, obviously, final round was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. Whew.
So, I don't know if you happen to check the results or see any videos or anything like that. But,
Yep.
you know, from what we've seen, obviously, for those of you who don't know about the results, first place was NY Chris G. Not really NY anymore. Second place was Fantastic. Third place was Face. Fourth was Cajun Strike. Fifth was Knuckle Dust. Tied for fifth was Knuckle Dust and Omega Urien. I never heard of Omega Urien before. And then seventh, our homie Troy and
Troy.
Eugene. I don't know who the fuck is that.
Yo, Eugene.
So, so I mean, obviously North Carolina basically dominated the tournament for the most part. If you don't count Chris G. So, getting into that, I mean, obviously, like I said, I don't know if you've seen the matches, but from what I saw, I mean, it was nice to see North Carolina, get up in there and get top five or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think? You think they should have came in and took the tournament in its entirety, or
Yeah, I
what?
mean,
So
yeah, I mean, like just given the resources that they have with the arcade and the fact that Chris doesn't play Third Strike anymore, um, and he doesn't have anybody to play over there in NorCal, so it's not like he's actually, he practices for it. He just comes through and he basically goes on whatever he learned from playing at CF,
yeah,
and he runs with that. And I think he should have gotten fifth. Just looking at everybody that's behind him,
yeah.
Knuckle Dust, Cajun Strike, Face, and Fran. I mean, those guys have all the resources to not lose to Chris anymore. But it's not just them. It's a lot of people who lose to Chris.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not a problem for us. I mean, considering that we've beaten him, and
Right, right.
but considering that they have, like you said, those resources down there, you would think that they would just body him like that. But no, another interesting thing about the final round tournament was that they had haitani there too.
Hmm.
But I don't know if he was there on time or if he didn't feel like entering. But that would have made it a little more interesting to see that. But obviously, he probably would have won.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I mean, it probably would have made it more interesting to see how far North Carolina would have gotten
Right.
with Chris G and Haitani there. But with this, I mean, for all you guys who don't know about final round, obviously they had Arcade Thirst right there, and these are the results. Pretty good character variety. Couple Makotos, a Yun Yang, Urien, Chun, ibuki, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised at Troy. I mean, I expected him to do a lot better than what he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
'cause
played young.
Did he? Cause I'm pretty.
I don't
I
know.
could I could I could have sworn like I saw it on stream and he was using like he went with the staple Ryu and then he went back to Chun
Okay, then that's
and
just event scrubs being fucked up and not
yeah, so
not
event
the fault.
event scripts, yeah. So but I mean yeah, I mean considering that he was a new blood champion, like you would
Yeah.
expect him to get it over fantastic, but he ended up losing that match. So
Yep.
but yeah, so with that said, I mean obviously one of the bigger topics is that y- you know we have this little problem with non-Third Strike players coming into a Third Strike event and just basically either winning it or placing top eight.
Hmm.
And this is the kind of problem that like I don't really like seeing it personally
Yeah.
because as consistent Third Strike players it's something that we shouldn't have to deal with. But it's just one of those problems that we just have. Like it's just it just happens. So
Yep.
with that said, you know, this whole this whole thing with players like Justin or Chris G coming into a tournament like final round or NEC or something like that, you know, what do you think about that? You think it's good for players to see something like that where a non-third strike player would take the whole tournament over consistent players or what? What do
Uh,
you think?
well, it's good and bad. But the good part about it is that when these high level players who play the newer games come back to Third Strike because they actually like the game and they want
Mm,
to enter the tournament, it does bring some publicity, I guess you could say, with it. Like people will stop by and watch, Justin play his matches if he were to enter. I'm pretty sure there was a crowd around Chris G.
yeah.
So from that perspective, and in terms of just getting more eyes on the game, it's good. Um, but I don't want to like be too hard on people who can't beat them,
Yeah.
because Third Strike, contrary to popular belief, is like not a very difficult game to play. Like in terms of combos and things like that, like it's not terribly difficult. It's like it's one of the games where you don't need. It's like a bicycle. Where
Yeah.
you get progressively better as the tournament goes on because a lot of the combos are the same. Is more about the mind game, and you can see with Chris, he plays an overly like simplistic style, so
Yeah.
it doesn't, he doesn't take much for him to get back into close to top form. But it is bad from the standpoint that it's pretty much a joke, when those
Yeah.
when those guys win because all that gets said to them is how are you winning? You don't even play the game anymore. So what does that say about the community? So ultimately, I mean, it is, you could go either way with it, but it's probably more bad than good
Yeah.
because as people who represent the game, and players like Fran who have like ties to to players who play Street Fighter 5 and things like that.
True.
How do you explain that away? I mean, it's difficult, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about this tournament was that like, you know, it's always something when you see North Carolina there and you see the players they're like just mellowing through the tournament like they don't care or anything like that, and that's cool and all, but it's like there has to be a certain level of expectation when it comes to playing against somebody who doesn't play consistently like that,
Yeah,
compared to like if every weekend you go to say Lost Ark or Next Level or wherever and you consistently play and it's like you can't really lose to somebody like that. I mean
right.
you know the ins and outs of the game. So, with that, I mean, me personally, like you said, it's good and bad. I mean, personally, I think it's more bad than good because, you know, people don't like seeing that. They like seeing an actual third strike player come over on top and, actually taking it over a sponsored player.
Yeah,
Nobody likes how does Matt say it? Nobody likes a poacher. You know,
right, right.
nobody
It's
likes a poacher in our game. So
it's funny because when like Chris G and Justin were active and Ricky, were all active. Um, all of the tournament pressure was always on them to win,
hmm
but now the pressure is on the Third Strike players who still play to beat them.
yeah,
So they play a lot more loose, and I think that the tournament jitters is probably what gets to them because I'm not sure of, I mean, Chris being able to beat, Fran in like a casual first to five. I
hmm
don't know, I think that'd be a lot closer than what the tournament thing was. I think jitters probably gets to the current players because their strike isn't in a state where they get constant tournament experience.
hmm
So then when they go up against somebody who's skilled or who has just general fighting game skill
like
and
natural
they
natural talent. Yeah.
right and then they used to play their strike at a high level, they get even more nervous and then their tournament performance probably suffers for that because none of the pressure's on Chris G and Justin to win anymore. Everybody expect, it's that thing. Like they have the top player OS, the option saying that,
Yeah.
I don't play the game, so it doesn't matter if I lose, but if I win, I'm godlike.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, like you can't argue with that because I
True.
mean, Chris G. I mean, I didn't expect him to get as far as he did at Summer Jam. Like when he was, what I mean. I
Mm.
think he should have lost to a couple players.
He
Um,
should have. Yeah.
yeah. So, but he didn't, and I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't know how to explain that away. But what I would like to say pertaining to Chris G is that he has my official endorsement to be a Titan at TFC.
Now that's another thing we'll get into later. I mean,
Right,
well,
but
obviously we'll have Adam included on it, and save that, save that right
I'll
there.
definitely explain my reasoning. But I wanted to get that out there. I think
Yeah,
he should be Titan.
that's another thing that brings up the whole idea with the Titan format too, because it also comes down to a non-third strike player having the qualifications to enter the Titan event. So with that said, we'll take a quick break because I see we're having a couple of problems with the stream a little bit. So we'll hold on to that thought. When we come back, we'll be talking to Adam. Get his thoughts on the Titan format, the results, the impact of non-third strike players, and yeah, we'll catch you guys when we get back. So don't go anywhere, guys.
Stay tuned.
All right, so welcome back, guys. Sorry about that. For those of you who are just catching up on House of Strikes, if you happen to miss it on the stream, I just ended up doing a recording to cover up for all the drop frames and everything. So, Ray, don't worry about the screen. I got you. But yeah, so for those of you who happened to miss the earlier part of the show for whatever reason, we ended up covering the final round 19 results for Third Strike, and aside from that, we ended up briefly talking about the. We briefly ended up talking about pretty interesting topic with fucking with Frankie and Adam about how non-third strike players affect the actual third strike tournament. So with that said, obviously we have Adam on the show. So say hi, Adam.
Alright, what's up, guys?
Yes!
You.
Yeah.
So obviously, Adam, let's get your opinion on the second topic first and foremost. What do you think about the idea of having, non-third strike players entering actual third strike tournaments, like actual third strike majors,
And winning.
and winning,
Yeah.
yeah, or making
Like,
top eight, whatever.
yeah. Frankie covered most of the things, like most of the stuff I was gonna say, but I think it's good in a way. I know it's mostly bad. I personally hate it, but I would say it's good for one reason. Like maybe it can open more doors for I don't know new players or players who took a break and they're like, hey, well, this guy is not playing Third Strike no more. Maybe I can get back into it, and encourage people, to get back, jump back in, or new players. But yeah, I really, I honestly don't like it. It's like a wake up call, man. This guy comes out of nowhere who's hasn't been playing the game for God knows how long, and he just comes and takes your tournament. And you guys
Slap in the
are,
face.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's disrespectful. Yeah, it really is. Uh, he-
So in that sense, that's why you believe that it's more negative than positive, right?
yeah. hmm I'm trying to be nice and come up with something positive, but that's the only positive thing I could come up with. To open doors for new players, but that's about it.
Word.
Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, that's true, and I like what you said when you were saying that it might open new doors to newer players because these people they got a big ass following. Like once people see Chris G on the list, they'll be like, oh my God, Chris G and all that type of shit. But it's like, when
hmm
it comes to Third Strike, everybody has a level playing field too.
hmm
So these players who are actually looking up to these guys, they can just be like, oh, you know what, maybe I could practice a little bit and then just play. So I guess in that sense it's good, but from a third strike perspective, in terms of being an actual player, if you were to play somebody like Chris G or Justin or Ricky Ortiz, like what would you do? Like how would you take it going into the match? Like what would you think about?
Well, I wouldn't think too much about it because I think that's what throws the third strike players off. They get nervous. There's like a lot of pressures on me. I just play it how I play it. Show some respect because some people like this guy's out of shape. So maybe I can just go balls out and not have to worry about being punished or stuff like that. And end up losing. It puts more pressure. Then they start getting more nervous and they break. But I would just give him some respect, like he's an active third strike player, and
Hmm.
yeah, just test him out, see if he bites, see what he does, how he reacts to stuff I throw out, and take it on from there.
Hmm. So you wouldn't think of any other mentality of like saying like, oh fuck, this is Justin
Nah,
Wong or something that I'm playing or something like that, right?
nah.
Okay.
Maybe most of the third strike players would do that, but not me.
So
Yeah.
looking back at the final round results, you know, we had Chris G in first place, and Fran, Face, and Cajun Strike second, third, and fourth respectively.
Mhm.
So I mean, what do you think about that? Like, you think they should have lost to Chris G? I mean, Face using Chun, Cajun Strike using Makoto, and Fran using Yun. That's all top tier characters, and those are their mains. They're all losing. They all lost to Chris G. I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that whole
All right.
bullshit?
Well, it's funny actually because before the tournament, I had a talk with Ahmed, and we were like, "Yo, let's see who can come up with a top 8 list and match it to the results." And
Hmm.
we came up with the same list. Like we had Chris G and Fran like taking first or second, and I was rooting for Fran. I was like, "This bro, my bro Fran gonna take it over Chris G. He
Hmm.
hasn't been practicing anymore." And we ended up with like 6 out of the 8 players because I'm not sure. I think it was Eugene and some other guy. Can't remember his name. Omega something.
Omega Urien, yeah.
Yeah, and Eugene. Those were like the only two. But we had a similar list. Like I actually had Fran or Chris G taken first. I mean, just all I gotta say is don't let it happen again. Cause like when no shot to the NC bros. No shot to them. It's all love, but like when someone comes like that, swings by with no practice, hasn't he only like touches the game at majors. It's just saying something. It speaks volumes. It's like what are people gonna talk about? Your guys' scene, your community. You're gonna have to step it up, and don't let like guys, non-third strike players come and just take your tournament like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to a more pressing topic. I mean, obviously we know that players like Chris G and Justin and Ricky are all out there. These guys they have enormous talent. Like they got that natural talent where they could pick up a game and just say like, like I'm gonna be godlike in this game. So with
Right.
with that said, obviously we have the Titan format coming through at TFC. So with that, first and foremost, I want to talk to you about, the actual format itself. What do you think about the Titan format? I mean, obviously, Kang he made some updates to it, but in general, what were your thoughts on the format?
I mean, I liked it at first, but when I seen the amount of players that will be in it, that just changed everything for me.
Four?
Yeah,
Like there were only 4 players
yeah,
for the
yeah.
mixed
And
matches.
I heard he bumped it up, I think, to 6 now, right? Like first it went
Yeah,
up to 5 and 6.
in
Cause
terms of the upgraded rules, he made it to instead of one extra spot for winning singles, he made it two extra spots now. So
yeah,
now
like I
six
don't know
players.
if I don't know if I had something, I don't know, anything to do with it, but I talked to him a lot, bro. I hit him up. We talked about it. And I was like, yo, you should have like at least I don't know, do 8 players. And he's like, no, that's too much. And he bumped it up to 6.
Eight,
I
eight, eight wouldn't be too much.
You
Yeah,
think so?
that's what I
Eight,
said. Yeah, that's what I said.
because Andy City of Brass does the King of New York tournaments. It was an
Mm.
8-man round robin, first to 5, and
Mm.
Yeah, but
they're
this.
fine, And I mean,
Yeah,
it is a whole day event,
yeah,
but they do a qualifier before then, like to bring in two more players,
True.
um, and then they run the actual thing like the same day. So
right.
and it runs perfectly fine. It's really accurate. It's very entertaining because like the fact of the matter is the reason why a singles tournament is hard to watch sometimes is because you have a lot of players who aren't at an entertaining level. Whereas you wouldn't have to worry about that with a 8-man round robin of Third Strike Titans because it's just high level play for about 3 hours straight. You know what I mean? So I don't think that'd be a bad thing.
You guys wouldn't think it would be like a little too tedious to have like a first to five with every other player and then just like, have spectators watch it compared to a high roller tournament?
High roller tournament, I think, would be more entertaining in general. But if we're sticking with the Titan format, I think people want to see parity. You know, like more players, like more different types of players. So
Right.
having a 5-man or a 6-man round robin is all right, but it's like an awkward number.
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
Wait, but
let's look at that then. I mean, how would you guys specifically change the format itself? I mean, regardless if it's actually a round robin or not, or if it's an actual tournament, whatever the case is, how would you specifically organize the Titan event? Frankie first.
Well, I don't like just to make it quick and effective. Just having a high rollers tournament, I think,
Mm,
is better, um, because like I think the high rollers tournament that happened at Fight Club 3 was like a huge success,
mm,
um, because you have people who are at their own liberty to enter the tournament to
true.
see. You know what I mean? Like you got
You have Blood Cell
Hispanic
in
Jack
there.
and Bledsoe. Like basically, like they pretty much donated that money. Like they knew they weren't gonna win. Like that's like you're gonna try your best. You know what I mean? But they went into it not you know
Not with no
with
expectations.
not the best odds. Let's just put it that way. To put it nicely, they didn't have the best odds. They were
right.
aware they didn't have the best odds,
True.
but you give them an opportunity to just compete at that highest level for first of 3 games. The whole way through, and I feel like with the Titan format, the way that it is, it's like an arbitrary selection of the tournament runners' own opinion about who the Titans are, and
Mm,
I think that it kind of makes it not legitimate if it's because the criteria isn't consistent. I don't think all the way around.
sure. So, Adam, what would you? Because I know you had a big opinion about it. I know you had like a whole plan about the whole Titan format. So,
Right.
you specifically, how would you go about changing it or keeping it, whatever?
I mean, I agree with Frankie because I remember we talked on Facebook, Lloyd, and you was like, "Hey, we'd rather do like a high rollers instead of having 4 to 6 players." But if I was to change it, like I would have 6 players and then have 2 players qualify through like a mini tournament, like honorable mentions, guys who can be Titans,
Hmm.
and have them play like a single match, 3 rounds of Swiss. Frankie knows, he's aware of Swiss rounds, like card games
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So like have 8 players, 16 players, whatever, for a mini tournament, and have them play 3 rounds of Swiss, and then whoever has like the
the
higher
best
record,
record.
right? Well, those two will qualify to make it 8 players for the Titans.
Yeah,
Titan,
Is
yeah.
isn't that similar to the Topanga League, like what they
yeah,
do in Japan and stuff?
yeah, and that's identical to what City of Brass does at,
Mm,
at the King of New York. Like he has 6 players who are pretty much like unanimously the best, and then you have people from out of town perhaps who can come in and like take the title. So there was that like dynamic there that existed, that the King of New York people who were already in that like the main event round robin
hmm.
were only New Yorkers, and then the last 2 qualifying spots were to whoever can achieve the best record in the round robin
Right.
like qualifying tournament. So
And yeah.
I think it's easy to come up with like 6 unanimous people that nobody can argue that they're the best in the country, and then have the last remaining spots be that. But just having one spot to add up to 5 or 2 to add up to 6, it's just it's almost like you're being like inclusive, or you're being like
Yeah,
exclusive on purpose.
yeah.
It's like intentionally like being having like exclusivity around the event that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Because nobody can argue. Like I don't like nobody can make an argument for why EXO is like head and shoulders above, let's say, Ahmed.
Hmm.
You know, like nobody can make like a legitimate argument for that. So why isn't Ahmed on there and not You know
True.
what I mean? So like when you bring those types of players up, like there's plenty of people in the same bracket, in the same level that can compete at that highest level and could potentially take it. So that's when I talk about legitimacy of the tournament. That's where it becomes shaky,
Hmm.
because you don't really know, like the criteria was kind of updated in terms of how he made the decision, but the point is that it's very limited, like the amount of people, and it's just non-consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Personally, I think the fact that he added two extra spots goes to show that, yeah, he added the four players, but it's like, okay, there's more leeway for more players to enter, but it's like he's still not sure of who the top players are, but it's like, you know, I mean, the there's like a whole bunch of things that could have been different with it. I mean, you could have had like a B class or something like that, because
Right.
similar to Topanga League, like they have a B class, right?
Right.
They have that secondary league where people can enter, and if you're like the top two of that B league, then you get bumped up, and the bottom two from the Titan League or whatever gets bumped down. Now that's kind
Right.
of something that can be like run consistently. Whereas you just flip a coin and just hope for somebody to get first or second, or
Or
I heard in the updated rules he took out the whole idea where if a Titan loses in the tournament in the singles tournament, then they don't lose their spot or something like that. Some nonsense like that, which shouldn't be happening in the first place because Titans shouldn't be allowed to enter.
right.
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 So that's my one complaint, that you know that he said that Titans are allowed to enter the singles, and I just don't agree with that because it's barring the entry from other players.
Right.
You, you
Because
know
like who really wants to see it's like because then at that point it's not about who's the best of the rest, it's whoever doesn't run into Lloyd
or
first
who
round,
yeah, or
or
who
who
doesn't
doesn't
run
run
into
into five
Yuki.
star or Yuki, like that it becomes a thing about however the challenge brackets, you know what I mean? It's all luck
Yeah,
because
like you got
it
fingers
like
crossed, huh?
who's to say that like there isn't like let's say Troy couldn't beat everybody else in the B League. But if
Yeah,
he ran into
exactly.
one of you guys early on, then he'd be screwed.
Exactly. So it's
So
because
he'd have to be extra godlike just to make it to the Titan thing. He'd have to like beat you and then beat you know
it beat EXO, beat
yeah he'd
all of
have to
us. Like he had to beat everybody, So that's one of the things that I just don't agree with that part
Yeah.
where he's just like allowing, there are some restrictions, I guess, but it's like, you know, not only that, but it's like in order to take one of our spots,
Hmm.
you have to put up money for that, and it's like
right. Well,
that's $100.
nobody's gonna do that. Like
Yeah,
people are
like
gonna
you
say that, but nobody's gonna really do it.
like
Nobody's gonna be like, hey,
who in their right mind would want to challenge like Yuki in a first to five,
Kyo,
or for 100?
Kyo.
This is 100, and as a tie-in, like Yuki would take that. He would say, okay, free
Of
money,
course.
or not free money, but if he loses,
Oh yeah, that's free money.
then I enter singles. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's an option select. It's like, okay, if I lose, sure. If not, then whatever, I win.
That's just leh.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the one problem I have with like there should be more restrictions on Titans as, for whatever reason, like, whether it's barring the entry from other players or it's because, it's just too easy for them. Like you don't want to make it too easy. You want to make it a little bit more difficult by, just forcing them to play in that specific scenario, but only worrying about that so they don't have to worry about, singles and beating other people who don't have a chance. So I don't know. Adam,
Uh,
what do you
I, I,
think?
I want to talk about the schedule. Do you guys know if the Titan thing is on Sunday or Friday, Saturday? Because I know singles is obviously before the Titans to see who qualifies, but is like the Titans thing on the same day as singles or is it a day after?
I believe it's on Sunday.
All right. All right. The thing is, with at first I didn't like there was only four players, but now he updated it obviously, and the thing about the where the Titans can enter singles, I didn't like that. Now I don't like the singles tournament because like, all right, say the Titans don't enter, there's gonna be like 30 to 40 maybe ish players, and it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna drain the players, even though they have a day, till whatever Sunday. It's still like everyone's gonna bust out their shit, and people are gonna get an idea. Like on top of that, it's just I don't know, man. It's too much. Like just do a 16-man bracket, 3 rounds of Swiss, single match. That way you put everything on the table, and it'll show who's the top two. For the remaining to make it top eight. Titans do like a first to three. I think it's first to three, right? It's not first to five for the Titans.
Uh, no, yeah, it's first to three, I
Yeah,
believe.
see? So, 8 players, first to three is not that bad, Frankie, because like Frankie mentioned earlier that City of Brass does like King of Chinatown or whatever, first to fives, 8 players, right? It's
Right.
8 players. So yeah, I'm sure he could do first to three, 8 players, and instead of doing like a 30, 40 man bracket singles tournament, double LM's gonna take forever. Just
Mhm.
do like we can do on the next show, or we can talk about it online. Who should like deserve the spots based off like many things, and then we can have like I'm sure like off the top of my head I can name Ahmed, Frankie, Gavin, Kyo, Carson, and Lance if they show up. A few other guys, Fran. You
Even
can
Mutant if he
even
answered.
yeah, yep. The reason why I didn't mention Muir because I wasn't sure, if he was gonna play. I know he's showing up, but yeah,
Yeah.
like have 16 players or 8 players, whatever it is, and then have them play it on. Then the two on top with the better records, can join in for the Titans thing and make it 8 players first to three.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, with I mean, going back to the whole rules of it. I mean, I don't know if you can see this, Frankie, but let me get this up for you. So obviously, the rules are that the two highest non-Titan place in the singles tournament qualify as the fifth and sixth Titan. We get that. There is no restriction on a Titan playing in singles. Now that's something that we covered. If a community member feels very strongly about an invited Titan, that member may challenge the Titan to a first to five. We already covered that.
Yeah.
A challenge must be publicly declared by October 1st, which well, I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, what if somebody wants to challenge you the day of? I mean, that's weird. And this is another part too. The challenge can be accepted or declined at the Titan's discretion. If you're a Titan and you're challenged by a player who doesn't have the qualifications that you have, would you decline that?
Not at all.
I mean, Adam, would you decline that?
No.
As a Titan, as a qualified Titan. I mean, this is one thing that I don't agree with either, but you should be accepting all challenges.
Yeah.
Right. Because the thing is that if you're like able to like decline somebody's like challenge,
hmm
you should also be putting up money.
Yeah, exactly. Like if
Because right now, like you could say yes to whoever the hell you want, and if you lose, it doesn't matter. Like you only lose
you don't lose
that, and
anything, you just lose your spot.
yeah, and then you probably qualify most likely either in the tournament or who's to say you couldn't challenge him back for it.
Yeah.
It's just
Eh,
I don't know. It's just
L-
looks like
let's
messy.
yeah, let's also talk about singles because like all right, say the Titans are allowed to enter singles and he doesn't change that.
hmm
That can like ruin the whole thing, like the results, because like the Titans can knock out the better players and then they'll be like a mid tier or whatever,
Yeah,
Or
just
or even other
a
qualified
nobody.
Titans.
Right. Exactly. So I'm sure they would have to forfeit their spot for the player under them, but still, like if the Titans are allowed to enter, then that's gonna change everything. Like if he's expecting Ahmed or Frankie or whoever to like get the get second or whatever, get the closest in the tournament singles. It's not gonna happen with the Titans entering because then they can knock him out early in the tournament.
hmm
And then just nobody appears out of nowhere, and he gets the sixth spot, the fifth spot for the Titans tournament.
Another thing too would be the seeding. With like the Titans themselves, I mean, any one of us can be like a number one seed, but it's like, how would you do that? That's number one. And then number two, it's also about how would you seed the other players who are actually qualified Titans. So, for example, how would you seed somebody like Justin or Chris G or something like that? You know? And not only that, why aren't they included in the Titan format too? I mean, they should have just as much of a chance as anyone else. As much
I
as
agree.
much as us. Like if Justin is, I'm pretty sure if Justin heard about the pop bonus for this, he would definitely show up for it. Like yeah, he may be sponsored, yeah, he may be joining 5 games, but if he's a Titan, he could just show up Sunday and that's it. Like there's nothing else to it.
Hmm.
Him, Chris G, and Ricky, like they could all do that. So it just goes to show that it is limited to only 4, 5, 6 players, but it's like there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, some players in the Titan format haven't even won a tournament yet. So
Right.
Yeah,
not
that's
not
true.
not specifically EXO, but in recent
Well,
years,
well,
Five Star
EXO
hasn't
and
won.
Yuki.
You
You know,
can.
like I understand like why he's there, but at the same time, like there has to be like some kind of consistency, like
Mm,
with the criteria of who gets chosen or not, because we're only going by X's opinion. Obviously, Yuki's like good because he's played in Japan and everything like that,
mm,
but you know where's the the criteria not being there? It kind of ruins the whole legitimacy of the event
yeah,
because
Yeah.
I don't understand how like Exo could put himself there and not think to put Mutant before him.
Right.
You
yeah.
Like that's what I want to ask you guys. Like, what would you base it off if you was to choose like who would be in the Titans thing? Would you base it off like tournament results, consistency, high level? Like, for instance, someone came back from Japan, you could throw him in there even though he didn't win a tournament, or someone who's been placing every major but like hasn't won one yet. Like, what would you guys base it off if you was running the Titans thing?
Uh,
I
if
mean,
I if go ahead, Frankie.
all right. So like just to be fair, it would have to be like just pure results.
Mm.
Pure like results and history. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it couldn't be based on anything else because anything else is subjective. Like you have to go by the numbers. By that standard, I wouldn't put myself there, but I would put Mutant there. I'll put Ahmed there.
Mm-hmm.
Chris G.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't understand how Chris G is not there if EXO hasn't even beaten him in tournament yet. Like I don't understand how that works out.
Mm,
And
spicy.
Justin, yeah, even Justin, he's no
And
slouch
Justin
still
too.
for a
No,
guy who
no,
doesn't play anymore. He's won pretty much every tournament in the East Coast when he was active, and he still the guy still has it. He can show up and take out these active third strike players in the Titans thing.
you could. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like in order for it to be like completely fair, it would have to be just on pure numbers.
Yeah.
You
There
know?
there would have to be a limit though, like over how many years, like what consistency of years would it have to be? Would it have to be like the past 3 years, the past 5 years? What would it be for something like that? Like in terms of numbers, because
Um.
I know you Frankie, you specifically placed like top eight like almost every single time.
Yeah.
Like if it's not top eight, it's definitely like top three.
Right.
So that alone is like that's qualified enough because that's more than
Because
EXO.
it shows consistency, right?
Yeah, and
So at least that it would have to be based on something like tournament results or even something like like fight card results too, because that's a real thing too. You
exactly. I
know?
was I was just gonna say that like the fight card is like the closest thing to a Titan format because we play each other head to head and it's a first to three and you beat me in the first one.
Right.
That alone should be saying like, oh, that's it, like Frankie's qualified right there. Not, on top of also being consistent in terms of placement.
Right.
So with that, I mean, it opens up a whole lot of more, a whole lot more people, opens up a whole lot more doors for people to enter. So,
Right.
you know,
And
Ahmed should definitely be there. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, like just to like put it on the record, I don't mind at all that I'm not in that
mhm,
because I don't like I'm looking forward to like going and earning the spot,
mhm.
but I don't see how you could justify put like EXO putting himself there. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with not being there, but him putting himself there, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Because there's just people who are more qualified like to be there. You know?
yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, that alone was a little iffy to me because not only is he himself entering, the tie-in format, but he's also entering singles.
Right.
So it's like if you're,
And you're
if
running
you,
the show. Like you're the only guy running the show. I mean, presumably he'd have help from North Carolina, but still, like the point is that his namesake is on the entire event multiple
yeah,
times.
I
Oh,
mean that alone, I mean you don't need to put yourself on the event for something like that. Like if you're that good, you can qualify. I mean you don't have to prove anything else just by putting your name up there and saying listen, I'm Italian. You
right.
know, you can just qualify just like everybody else. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's his thing. He's open to do whatever he wants, and that's
Of
fine.
course.
But you know,
No,
personally,
we're just providing opinions.
yeah, I mean personally, it's just the spots itself. Like it should definitely be a little bit more like more than just I don't know about this whole thing with each player plays each other by rounds kind of thing. Like I don't know if you see this.
Right, right.
Every Titan faces every other Titan in a round robin first to three, with 5 total rounds of play. So that's basically like it's kind of like chess rules, where it's kind of like a round robin. You play each other one game. You know, there could be draws, kind of thing like that.
Right, right.
So you
It's
know,
iffy.
yeah, it's definitely iffy. I mean, especially with like 5 or 4 or 6, like 6 players, whatever. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot more tricky.
Yeah, because the thing is, like with 6 players in 5 rounds, like there's a high probability that like 3 or 4 people might be tied up like by the end of it. Like
Exactly.
because it's an even number of folks.
Exactly. I mean, and then on top of that, the tiebreaker is basically, you know, in the event of a tie, matches one enter the picture. You know, but then it's like, what happens if they if they tie with that? You know, if
That's so all right. So I don't know. That's odd. So like
yeah.
so the fact that somebody got 3-0'd would like come into effect at that point. Is that what you mean by that?
Basically, so say if it was me, 5 star, and Yuki or something like that,
Right.
I win 3-1 against 5 star, I lose 3-2 against Yuki. Yuki loses 3-2 to 5 star, and then vice versa. You know,
Right.
it's like there's a tie break, but it's like it goes by the amount of matches won, and it's like
That's not fair because it's
it,
like I don't know.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then what would
It's,
happen? They would have to play it out. Yes, it's something like that.
exactly, and as a last resort, there will be another first to three match. And it's it shouldn't come down to that. It should be something more concrete.
yeah,
You know,
right.
like
Because like I don't know, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like the whole like it going by matches because at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter if you win by like up 1 pixel of health or a perfect. A win's a win. So you
yeah,
shouldn't be penalized for having a more entertaining match.
yeah,
Basically, like everybody wants it to be a bunch of 3-2s all around.
of
But you're
course.
penalizing people for like losing a game. I don't know. It just
Or
doesn't.
for performing as well as they should and making it 3-2.
Right, exactly.
You
That's what I
know.
mean. Like if everybody comes and plays at their absolute best, it shouldn't be anything other than 3-2.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this.
I mean, maybe that's what he's trying to do, like what he's trying to alleviate with the whole adding 2 more players, but it's like, it's way too messy to have just 5 rounds or something like that. Like it should just be simply, you know, first to five or something like that. Keep it going all around, and that's it.
Right.
Like, but let's see. And of course, the last rule. I mean, if I happen to miss something and it is royally fucked, we will cancel the event and get drunk instead, and try again next year. I mean, that's a good option select. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
Insurance policy.
but we can't deny that there's a lot more going towards the Titan event than there is towards singles. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the more interesting things. There's 700 for 500 for the top place, 200 for runner up. I mean, I would be comfortable getting second place. I mean, shit. That's basically winning a major right there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess from our perspective, I guess the whole Topanga League kind of event would be more beneficial and more sustainable.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know.
you know what it is like as a top player. Like I look at this and it like it's cool.
Mhm.
The prospect of like winning that much money, but I'm trying to look at it like through the lens of somebody who doesn't play. Like,
Like a new player.
yeah, like why the hell would I stick around for that? Like the singles tournament is like not much going into that,
Hmm.
and then the Titan event just seems like a circle jerk. Where all the best prizes are for these players that basically didn't again were arbitrarily chosen. It's
True.
just like as a person, like I'm looking at it through that lens. Like it would be kind of whack to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like, what was it? Like from a new player, like obviously they're gonna look up to those sponsor players. They're gonna
Right.
look up to like Chris G, Justin, and things like that. But it's like they're not there.
Yeah.
They're not gonna stick around to see Yuki versus 5 star. They don't know who the hell that is.
Yeah.
They
That
they
and
don't care.
right, and that's what I
you
was
know?
saying too. Like I was because like cachet, like having a name in the third strike community doesn't mean anything because it's what I've told you, and it's not a knock on Yuki, but I've never seen this nigga play. You know what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah,
like you would think that I'd see this nigga play, but I have never seen this nigga play. You know, like, and if I don't know who this nigga is, like, how are you gonna
no,
keep the attention of people who are just passing by? Like, you
exactly,
know what I mean? Like, I would much rather have players who have consistently shown throughout the years that they've been good at this game at an American level, and who have the like the prospect of bringing in viewers, bringing in
exactly.
people.
Not only just for the viewers on site, but also viewers on stream too.
Of course,
So I mean that's something that'll definitely like click in other people's minds. And in terms of like promotion too, like just imagine
yeah,
looking at something like 5 Star versus Justin or something like the Runback.
yeah,
Like
that's.
because they played each other at SBO qualifier.
Mhm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
something that I would be interested in seeing. Like even though I know like 5 Star will probably win, you know, more than likely he will win.
Right.
But it's like, as a new player, I would be like, damn, like that's pretty fucking cool. Like I want to see like,
Yeah.
Justin playing that.
Yeah,
So
because yeah, like there's an aspect of it too where people don't realize like how newer players feel like they missed an era,
yeah,
and that would
exactly.
definitely make them feel like holy shit, like I can kind of go back and like relive that a little bit, and like that can't be overlooked. Like all the Marvel players like I talked like played with, like trying to get better at that game. Like I basically spend like my time like telling them like horror stories about CF pretty much, and like having something like that, like a 5 Star versus Justin, like that would be like a throwback. And even though the level of play wouldn't be like the highest, it's just the fact that it's those two names going at it.
I mean,
You know?
it's quality too, I
Right,
mean, it's
exactly.
like, we all know that Justin isn't a scrub,
No, no, he
So
would. Like, he could still
put up a
like.
fight, yeah.
Yeah, and he's 1 or 2 decisions away from probably beating 5 Star in a first to five. Who knows?
Or
So
first to three as
first to three, right?
Kang has
As
it, so.
Mr. Exo has it.
But yeah, so I mean, Adam, what do you think? I mean, in terms of bringing in sponsor players, for these new spots, what do you think?
I'm cool with it, bro. It is what it is. Like, I just wish he would change his stuff, man, a little bit. Tweak it, because I'm really not digging the singles thing. Yeah, it's like gonna take forever, and then Titans are allowed to enter. I don't know if he changed the whoever beats a Titan can challenge him for his seat. Did he change that yet, or?
Well, well, originally it was a challenger can challenge a Titan, but they
Mhm.
have to put up 100. If that
Uh,
person loses, or no, if that person wins, then 50 from that 100 gets put into the
mhm.
prize,
What?
and the challenger who supposedly beat the Titan retains that extra 50
Who would go for that? That's not even.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
not plus.
Well,
Like,
well, that's
I,
I'm assuming that's why he took it off and that's why he changed it because
mhm.
he changed it to a challenger can challenge a Titan, but they have to put up 100, and if you win, then you keep that 100 and you get the spot.
Yeah,
But in
that's
but in either
but there's
case,
still
it's
no.
like
Yeah, but that's still no incentive.
yeah.
exactly.
That's like I don't feel any incentive to challenge any one of you guys because my chances are most likely better to just do it
Yeah.
in singles. And I'm not wasting any money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting any money doing that. Like I was just entering the tournament like I normally would have, and
Uh-huh.
it's just a matter of being fiscally responsible. I'm not gonna like put $100 up when there's a $10 tournament that I just have to do like I've always done, and just get to the top of that. And you know what? It just doesn't seem like this event is catered towards people who might have an interest in the game who aren't like fantastic at it yet,
hmm
because all of the best prizes are reserved for the Titans, yet they're still allowed to enter singles. So realistically, you're gonna have a Titan winning that $500 pot bonus, and then in the running to win the $700. You know what I mean? So it's just like there's no.
And on top of that, just like try to think about this, guys. Like, imagine if one person won everything.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, and
One person winning every
and
single
that
thing.
might
Like,
happen.
eh,
Like that's very possible to happen. It's
I mean,
crazy.
it sucks because it's like that's just gonna go back and say like, oh my god, like these guys are so good. Then what's the point of me entering?
Yeah.
That's exactly what would stop people from playing in third strike tournaments before.
Yeah,
You know, like they saw Justin on the list and they were like, "Oh fuck, like I can't do
yeah,
this." You
exactly.
know, that's not. I mean, you know, that's not
That's not
something that we want.
conducive. You know, it's not conducive to a healthy community. Yeah, and like that would be like that's why so many people who aren't that great in Third Strike are so interested in teams and team tournaments. Is because it's one game, anything could happen in that one game.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's why a lot of like newer players like gravitate towards like playing in single. I mean, playing in teams as opposed to singles.
hmm
You know,
So yeah, I mean, go well, Adam. What do you think? I mean,
I'm just, yo, man, that shit is corny. Especially like if a no name just ends up getting that spot.
yeah, out
well,
of pure luck, because that could
Yeah,
happen, son. And
like,
not even that,
I,
right? Let's not, I'm not trying to say anything, right? But I am gonna say something, and it's not gonna come out nice. So
say what you want.
let's just say, right? Because this is presumably gonna be random seeding, pretty much, right?
mhm.
Except for the top players who pretty much are gonna be like, let's just say Lloyd in the top of the bracket, and then it'd be Yuki in two, or vice versa,
Oh,
and
I'm
then
not entering singles. So
right. Okay. Okay. So
well,
because
just for a hypothetical,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
just for a hypothetical, right? It'd be Lloyd, Yuki, and then the next 3 and 4 seed would be EXO and
5 star.
who's and 5 star, right? So how do you see the rest of everybody in that? And let's just say it's random. Let's just say all of New York gets put on one side of the bracket, and you have like, let's just say somebody like not that great, but is who
Like a new
knows.
player.
No, like somebody like Cajun Strike, let's just say, right? Who's not
Uh,
like great at the game, but he knows his stuff enough to like beat people, and he has a chance. He has a fair shot against anybody.
to random out, yeah.
Yeah. So, but he's on the other side of the bracket.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And all of the New York players are playing each other because that's happened before. So all the New York players are playing each other, and we all beat each other. And then by the time it gets to one side of the bracket, it's like somebody's been through fucking hell.
Yeah.
The other side of the back is a cakewalk, but for whatever reason, double jeopardy does happen in tournaments, and then you have New York players playing for losers qualifier spot in top eight, and then you have one guy who lost in winners semis, because he had an
Yeah.
easy go, and then he automatically gets fifth place. He's gonna lose again, but he automatically gets fifth place. You know what I mean? It's just like it's
It did.
that's something that could legitimately happen where somebody who isn't like who's not on that level could potentially win just because of random seeding, random brackets,
That's
and
true.
that's
That's yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying. Like,
because you got to worry about putting like the best quality that you can, like the
mhm.
best quality product that you can on stream, and with this, it's liable to be shitty.
The one thing that actually goes into that is like there's more at stake in the singles tournament than just simply the pot bonus. You know, like there's also the qualifying spot to get into the Italian format, into
Right.
the Italian event. So, the actual seeding does mean something. There should be legit seeding when it comes to that. So from our perspective, I'm hoping that EXO takes note of that and tries to figure out a way to get the proper seeding going because that would be pretty fucked up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that,
like just going off the fact that like whoever wins that Titan event and whoever loses the Titan event is getting like 700 and then what, $200?
no, it was
It's
500 and
five
200.
500 and 200. Just the fact that they're getting that, they shouldn't be entering singles.
Exactly. I mean,
Because you
yeah.
have a good prize pool for the Titan event in and of itself.
And there's
And
also teams too. I mean,
yeah, it's like Jesus, like how like
how many more chances do you need? I
yeah,
mean,
ultimately, like one would feel bad, like taking all of that money from weaker players. It just doesn't seem fair. Now, this is coming from somebody who's very much planning on winning, singles and all that stuff. So I'm just looking at it through that, through that scope. It might be 50 players entering, hopefully, just for the sake of like having good numbers.
mhm.
But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was like, oh, like their Shrek community is just like hustling niggas. You know what I mean? Like that's how it
Yeah,
comes off. It comes off as like they're really just hustling people. Like that's just how it
yeah.
seems. Not that that's the case. I'm not trying to like imply that I know anything, but everything that I've expressed here, I've expressed to EXO personally, This isn't
Mm.
anything new, like to him anyway. But hopefully, if enough people
Yeah,
agree with
he
what we're
keeps in mind.
saying, yeah, he might change a few things. Because I mean, that's the beauty of having an event planned so far up, in advance, is that these changes can be made with minimal, collateral damage. So hopefully,
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
could get something going.
Yeah. So, Adam, any last thoughts?
Yeah. Oh man, I just wish he would listen, cause he obviously he listened at first at least, because I told him I didn't like 4 players and he bumped it up to 5, now 6. If he would just do 8 players, and like, all right, would you guys be mad if the Titans can enter singles, but he did like a qualifier mini 16-man bracket, 8-man bracket, single limb, to get straight to the point, and the 4 players from there, top 4 qualifies to for the Titan thing? What do you guys think?
What do you mean? You gotta
Like,
clarify that shit.
all right, like, what if, all right, like, we still have time for the tournament. We have a few months, obviously. So why don't we like wait until other results come in, and then we can start discussing who would we like to have based off credentials, based off other things,
To be in a
for
B
this.
league.
Yeah, and like 8 players to 16 players, and come up with the bracket, whatever, and then like have everyone. You guys are allowed. All the times are allowed to enter singles, but like right after that or even before that, you can do a 16-man or whatever 8-man bracket, single match or Swiss rounds, and 4 players from that right there would get the rest of the spots for the Titans to make it 8 players. That's just me. I would have it that way if I was running it.
Well, I mean, I still wouldn't answer regardless, even if I had the shot to, because
Yeah, but like
that's not
I
fair.
I understand, but like say you're coming from far, like all right, you're coming from New York, and there's other people coming from other states, and they were like, hey, I'm trying to make some win some money, so why I'm not allowed
Why
to
not just enter everything? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like why I say he should allow everyone to enter singles, and then have like a mini to make it quick. Just have a mini side tournament, 8 to 60 players, single limb, or he can do Swiss if he has the time, and then just have the 4 players from there. We can like later on, like maybe a month or so before the TFC, we can come up with a list if he agrees. I doubt it, but
Like this list should have probably been made like 2 months beforehand. Like not like 9 months ahead of time. Because then it causes all of this where it's like for all we know, I could have a bad year.
Mhm.
Right. Like the landscape could change.
Yeah, it's kind of like the All-Star game, like the qualified players who do well that year are qualified to be on the All-Star team. It's the same concept. Whoever is the most consistent gets the shot.
right.
But in this it's mostly just over the course of the past years, and yeah, there's a lot of consistency with some of it, but it's like a couple players, like there should be at least like 2 wildcard spots at least for players that have been consistent for the year. Because for all we know, Adam can come out of nowhere or Gavin can come out of nowhere and just like body everybody. Like and just be consistent throughout the entire year. I mean, I would want him on a qualify. I would want him to be a Titan. Like he should deserve it if he's getting like first place or top 3 at every tournament.
Mm.
But it that would be in case like there would be 8 players. You know,
Mhm.
because something like this, like you can't just do it like 9 months in advance and say, okay, these are the 4 players we want there. Because that's just giving a bad it's giving a bad vibe to everybody who wants to try to enter.
Right.
So they're looking forward to a Third Strike event that's supposed to be the biggest of the year, but it's the biggest of the year for top players, not for everybody else.
Right.
You
Right. And
know?
that's really important, because you know
Exactly.
we can have our own like this week, and do something like that, and settle that score. But why does it have to be at the expense of potential players who want to just play the game? It shouldn't have to be at their expense.
Yeah, like how many times have we had players come up to us and be like, "Oh, yo, like I enjoyed that New Blood event, or I enjoyed the team tournament."
Yeah,
Something like
every tournament.
exactly. So little things like that, like it's what we're striving for, but it's like, I understand where EXO is coming from, where he wants to have the highest quality of matches and just like boom, like here, play it out, like fucking Coliseum type of shit, like, but in today's day and age where not many people play third strike, it's not gonna work like that. So,
Right.
but yeah. So with that said, I don't know if you guys have any more last thoughts about the format. Adam, you good?
Yeah, I guess. Let's see what he says, because I know he's probably listening to this. He'll probably likely
Or he
message me
will
on
be.
Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll message me on Facebook and talk about it, because I had a long talk with him, man.
I did
It's
too. I had a very long and painful talk with him.
yeah.
I didn't have one yet.
Uh-oh, it's
Oh man.
coming. After this,
Oh yeah,
it's
it's
coming.
coming. No, but so yeah, I mean this all comes back into what we were talking about, non-third strike players, how they affect the scene and stuff like that. I mean, all this stuff comes into play when it comes to, an event like TFC. So, for those of you guys who are watching, I mean, you know, try to voice your opinion. These kind of things are what's being listened to by EXO. So, if the voice of reason is there, he'll most likely listen. So yeah, let them know what you guys think. Post if you guys have any opinions or anything like that, you can post them in the comments as well. And with that, we'll move on to our parting shots.
Woohoo!
So and again, I apologize for you know the lack of stream quality in the beginning, or the lack thereof of the stream. But we kind of ran into technical difficulties. So the main part of this stream was to cover the Titans format and just to bind everything together, like just to have, you know, non-third strike players impact the final round results, how that affects, future events, like future events like TFC. So, with that said, Adam, you got any parting shots for anybody? Anything you'd like to let everybody know about the future of third strike?
Nah, I'm just nothing really to talk about. I got nothing against anyone. I just want everyone to get together, enjoy the game.
You plan on answering any cause me and Frankie we've been talking about this, like we want to start running like tournaments at like after shelters and stuff like that to like start getting that tournament feel going.
Right.
And would you be wanting to answer that, or is it something you just be like, nah, fuck it?
No, yeah, sure. I try to support. I know lately I have been actually for a few years now. I have been showing up to majors because like it's because the lack of competition. Like there was these good players. We had a good group of third strike players in New York that just completely faded away because
We
you
still
know
do.
they just silently just because they got discouraged. They see Lloyd, they see Frankie, they see Ahmed, they see Mew, and like, oh my God, these guys are gonna win likely. So let me just not waste my money. Let me just go play casuals, and that's why I kind of moved away from going to majors or entering most of the single local tournaments. But yeah, I mean, now I'll try to support. I'll show up if you guys do after the shelter, or
You know,
even if you do like ram bats or weekly, bi-weeklies at the summer around the summertime. It's around the corner, so.
You know what's funny about that is that that's one of the reasons, like for me personally, that's one of the reasons why like I wanted to start doing that too. Because I know Frankie had it in mind to start doing the you know regular tournaments like the same way we had it at CF again,
Yeah.
just to get people back at back to playing again.
Mhm.
Now doing it after shelters, it's probably even better because that's when everybody shows up. That's when Gavin sometimes shows up and things like that happen. So it'll be pretty
Yeah.
cool to see a lot of competition there. And so yeah, um, Frankie,
Because
any
like,
part? Oh, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. I don't remember if it was like $3 tournaments or $2 tournaments we used to do, Frankie, like every week
3.
at CF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3.
See that right there, you can't go wrong. If you do single match instead of 2 out of 3 or whatever, single match double them or 2 out of 3 double them, you have a chance to knock out the best player there. You can get top, you can get your entry fee back, win even the tournament. So that's why I think players back then used to enter like, hey, it's $3, it's nothing. Nowadays, like, I don't know what's going on with them. Either they don't have the time or they just discouraged and they don't want to do it. Like, I know I'm gonna lose. But yeah,
Yeah,
that would get them hype again. If you do $2, like
Yo,
a single match $2 tournament or $3 tournament, single match double them. That would go by quick, and they're like, all right, I
and the
can
three
win this, and they'll enter.
and the $3 tournaments were very lit. But what
Mhm.
also happened, like as a result, is that once a month I would, actually have like a formal like $10, tournament.
like a legit one,
And
yeah.
right, and but so it was that thing. It's like like playing the tournaments every week, like $3, $3, $3. When you suddenly have to pay 10, it doesn't seem like a lot, and everybody would show up to that.
That's true.
You know, like even Long Island would show up, like Darren and Joe would show up to my tournaments, and like Eric's would show up, and a whole bunch of other, you know. So
Yeah, even Philly. You
and
know,
then
Philly
once,
showed up a few times.
yeah,
That's true,
and Flair would show up. So like it's that thing, you know, if you have that kind of consistency there, it kind of helps to make people feel more comfortable about entering. And then once I handed the reins over to somebody, I'm just not gonna mention his name, but whatever. The point is that
You can mention his
he
name.
ran into the ground. All right, so Visor, I basically let Visor run everything, and then from there it went straight into the fucking ground because he wasn't being honest with the money that was going, because it was supposed to go towards like proper parts,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and getting like Japanese parts at CF, and that thing didn't pan out. And
Well, we're in
but
better
it will
hands now.
happen. What happened? Yeah, exactly.
We're in better hands now. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, it's something, you know, to be discussed, and hopefully, you know, we can get some feedback from those out there who might be interested in just watching or coming through. Because it would be, you know, hard for players outside of New York to come. But if it's something that they want to watch, then it'd be great, you know. Whatever they want.
Yeah, so that's something for you guys to keep in mind. I mean, you know, we got some things in store for you guys for the coming year. Obviously, we're gonna be tied up with trying to prepare for Co-op Cup, but you know, we'll be here still, you know, taking questions, comments, whatever, providing you with a good stream, and you know, trying to make everything perfect for Third Strike in the scene. So, again, if you guys happen to miss the earlier segment, I apologize about that. We had technical difficulties, but we covered the Titans format. And if you guys have any kind of opinions or any questions about it, you can send us an email at houseofstrikes@gmail.com. We can probably cover it at the next show. And if you guys don't wanna wait that long, you can just comment on our Facebook and Twitter at This Is Third Strike, and we'll get to it. You know, we'll let your voices be heard. So with that said, I want to thank you, Adam, for joining us on the show today.
Word.
No problem.
And
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your opinions, and Frankie, as always, Paul.
Paul.
We'll catch you guys at the next shelter or next House of Strike. So we'll catch you guys later.